The US dollar. It's not just the money Americans use to buy groceries. It's the world's money, a financial behemoth that underpins the entire global economy. More than just a currency, it's a symbol of immense power, granting the United States a level of influence unparalleled in modern history. But how did a single nation's currency come to dominate the planet? And what does that dominance truly mean for the rest of the world? This is the story of how the dollar conquered global finance. Our story begins in the final days of World War II. In 1944, delegates from 44 Allied nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to design a new international economic order. With most of Europe's economies in ruins, the United States stood as the undisputed economic powerhouse, holding the majority of the world's gold. The resulting Bretton Woods Agreement established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, uniquely convertible to gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. Other currencies were then pegged to the dollar, creating a stable, predictable system for international trade. For decades, this system worked. But by the late 1960s, the economic pressures of the Vietnam War and growing domestic spending strained America's gold reserves. In 1971, President Richard Nixon made a stunning announcement, unilaterally ending the dollar's convertibility to gold. This Nixon shock should have been the end of the dollar's reign, but instead, it ushered in a new, even more powerful era. Freed from the constraints of gold, the dollar's influence was cemented by a new arrangement, the petrodollar system. In the wake of the 1973 oil crisis, the United States struck a deal with Saudi Arabia and other major oil producers. These nations would price their oil exclusively in US dollars. In return, the US offered military protection and investment opportunities. This masterstroke ensured that any country needing to buy oil, which was every country, first had to acquire US dollars, creating a permanent, massive global demand for the currency. This control is further amplified by the SWIFT network, the primary messaging system for international bank transfers. Because SWIFT is heavily influenced by the US, it provides another lever of financial control. Surplus dollars held by foreign nations are often reinvested into safe, interest-bearing US Treasury bonds, effectively lending money back to the American government and financing its debt at low interest rates. This financial architecture grants the United States extraordinary economic and political leverage. The ability to control the flow of dollars is a powerful weapon. Through sanctions, the US can effectively cut off entire countries like Iran or North Korea from the global financial system, crippling their economies without firing a single shot. Companies and banks that defy these sanctions risk being locked out of the dollar-denominated system, a punishment so severe that most are unwilling to take the chance. This exorbitant privilege, as it's often called, allows the United States to fund its large trade deficits and government spending, essentially exporting its inflation to the rest of the world. Other nations have little choice but to play by rules written in Washington, a reality that has generated significant resentment over the years. Today, however, the dollar's undisputed supremacy faces growing challenges. Economic rivals like China are actively promoting the use of their own currency, the yuan, in international trade, and have launched a competing payment system to SWIFT. The rise of digital currencies and blockchain technology also presents a long-term, decentralized alternative to the traditional banking system. Nations are diversifying their foreign reserves, and bilateral trade agreements that bypass the dollar are becoming more common. While a sudden collapse is unlikely, the world is slowly but surely moving towards a multipolar currency system. The era of the dollar's absolute dominance might be nearing its twilight, signaling a fundamental shift in the global balance of power that will define the 21st century.